Fantastic. Nikki, Fareem. Fantastic. It's quite ironic that today is a presentation on how to effectively market your LinkedIn event. And I feel like I made all the mistakes today with this event where I had it on American Thanksgiving, which means that most of the audience is not likely to show up. And which is fine. I think for you people are going to get what they're going to get. So let a couple of people drop in, but I was thinking today is actually to do something a bit more, instead of doing a presentation, do something like a live workshop. And actually go through, instead of going, hey, here are theoretical things about how you could promote your workshop, is to actually how promote your event, is to actually do sort of like a hot seat and say, for somebody who wants to, thinking of doing an event, let's actually just go through the steps and see what, in terms of planning, because I've got a whole bunch of tips on how to promote your event. But I thought, just seeing as we're likely to be a slightly smaller group today, we could go through something a little bit more practical. What do you guys think about that? Well, I know Dave will be keen. Graham, what do you think?
As long as it's not me, I'm fine.
All right, fine. We can also do that. Anyway, who else is on the call? Nikki? Nikki's new. Are you here? Can you hear us?
Hi, I can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. How are you doing? Where are you joining us from, Nikki?
Oxfordshire.
All right, fantastic. How's the weather down in Oxfordshire?
We've had a lot of rain today.
All right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, the drought is over. I'm just looking at the weather outside. Pretty nasty. And fantastic. So I normally just go through some introductions as we start the call, just to so you guys, because this is a marketing event, and I'd love to you guys to introduce yourselves, so I get a sense of who you are, and also you have an opportunity to market yourselves to each other. So Dave, you want to go kick us off?
Yeah, no problem. So hi, afternoon all. I'm Dave Gerald. I run a company called Lasting Impact, and I work with organizations to essentially make the organization stronger by helping people be more productive and teams be more effective. I've been working with John. I think we've just done our third webinar. So yeah, I've been kind of working through the process with John for the past few weeks, gradually getting hopefully more proficient at the webinars as we run through them. And really my reason for wanting to be on today's webinar with John is one, because I like to watch, if I'm doing this, I like to watch other people who are doing the same kind of thing, because you always pick up something and they, right, I'll pinch that and I'll use that. But also because John and his team are doing a lot of the promotion work for me, I think it's good for me to, as a client, to understand more about what happens on his side of things, because then I can be a better client and I can be more productive from my end. So that, because and I see it very much as a partnership working with you guys, John. So the better I can be as a partner, the more effective we can be together. So yeah, that's really my drive for being here today.
Fantastic, amazing. Well, great to have you, Dave. And yeah, no pressure. I feel like I'll need to make sure, at least show you something new today. Amazing. Graham, want to just introduce yourself to the group?
Yeah, I'm Graham Rose. I run Independent HR, which provides HR services, mediation and coaching to small business owners who have got less than 50 staff.
All right. Fantastic. And are you looking, is that if you're running webinars, what kind of webinars would that be the reason for you to get more, the reason for you to be running webinars or events?
I'm also a qualified PQ coach, which is a positive intelligence coach, and it basically is it's a mental skill set which enables people to sort of turn down the volume of the saboteur chatter in their head, and to promote the positive sage, the right side, the left side of the brain. So turn down the right and turn up the left.
Fantastic, love it. Fareem.
Hi guys, nice to be here. John, I attended your webinar with Mirna, so that's how I got to know. Yeah, so
all right, fantastic.
Yeah, great to be here. What I do is, I've run a management consulting business for the last 12 years, and over the last few years, I've been helping other management consultants or business consultants, folks that do strategy consulting, HR consulting, operations, finance, etc. Anybody that sells into organizations and sells consulting, I help them land new clients and grow their business. So yeah, that's what I've been doing over the last few years. And my challenge, the reason I was interested in this event is that I've been building a community of management consultants and business consultants, and the primary way I do that is I host an event on LinkedIn. I mean, it's a Zoom event, but I promote it mainly on LinkedIn.
Perfect.
Every couple of weeks. And the way LinkedIn events is structured is that, it's really hard to send out targeted invites. I think I asked you that question on and I'm just trying to make the process more efficient. How do you kind of promote it and make sure that the time on my end inviting people to every 2 weeks is kind of limited, and I grow that community.
Fantastic. All right, that's great. We'll definitely cover some of that things. And I think that's part of the reason why I pivoted from saying, hey, teaching people this is how you should do it, to going, you know what, I'll just do it for you. Because there's a lot of, you can automate a bunch of stuff, but there's like a bunch of manual steps that LinkedIn are just like, nope, you must do this manually. There's my cat, by the way. He joins me on every event. Like at some point he'll show up and be like, hey, so this is Sputnik. Amazing. Well, great to have you, Fareem.
Great to be here.
Pete, amazing. Pete, do you want to introduce yourself quick and just say like why are you here? What do you want to get? What do you want to get from today? Nice to see you again, by the way.
Yeah, and you. Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Pete Moores. My company, PBM Consulting Limited, is set up to help share the knowledge that's being used to help build more unicorns. So some of that I do freely through daily posting on LinkedIn and other social sites. Some I do via a free workshop. I do 2 a month, one on fundraising and one on offer development and marketing for technology startups. And yeah, keen to see how I can grow that. I've built the business on LinkedIn from about 1,000 followers to about 7,500 followers in the past 18 months. So I know I've got a good audience, but getting that to convert into into my pipeline, into the workshops, webinars would be really useful.
All right, fantastic, great stuff. So kind of the funnel aspect of that, love it.
Yeah, whether I'm oversaturating or whether I'm not standing out in the the melee of events that are advertised on LinkedIn, my dropout rate is too high and my number of people actually attending is too low. So there's things I want to work on.
Got you, love that. Nikki, do you want to share quickly what you're about and what you want to get from today?
Hi, yeah. Apologies, first, my name's Nikki. My business is Designs Like These. I'm a graphic designer, and I've run a webinar with FSB. So they did all the promotion and got all the attendees sorted out, and I'm interested in perhaps running my own one, and that's why I'm here today, to get some tips on the promotion side of things. Apologies
Fantastic.
for turning video off, but I'm actually going to have to drop off at some point in the middle of this. I can't stay for the whole thing, so I'll probably do mostly listening.
That's fine, great stuff. Well, we're going to record it anyway, and I'll pop the recording in as part of the process, so happy days.
Brilliant. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. All right, so like I was saying, we're going to do something a little bit different today. Normally I would go a bunch of slides, but I'm actually preparing a course on how to do your LinkedIn event. So this is sort of a dry run through the content. I'd like to do a hot seat. If somebody wants to actually go like, hey, let's do your event, let's actually go through the steps. All right. Wow, anybody? Let's go, Pete. All right, amazing. Good stuff. So if that's okay with guys, everyone, we'll use Pete as an example because it's a nice small group today. Let's get a bit more practical. And it's one of the things we're going to talk about in terms of the planning is how to choose what to do at different sizes of events. Great stuff. So let's just drop straight in. And righto. Okay. So can you guys see this? Can you guys see a mind map?
Only if I make it much bigger. There we go.
All right. Fantastic. We can see a mind map. Brilliant. Okay. So the first thing to do, so this is, as you can see, this is the rough notes of what's going to be a one-day workshop.
John,
so the first
sorry, is there a way of zooming in?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. How's that?
Perfect. Thank you.
Fantastic. I love a bit of interaction here. Right. So the first thing to do is talk about your goals. Okay, because a lot of the why are you doing your event? What is the ultimate goal for your event? Why are you doing this series of events? So Pete, what is these series of events that you're doing? Why? What's your ultimate goal?
My ultimate goal is to identify leads which are science and technology companies who have a problem in raising and securing investment for their business.
Okay, fantastic. And if you had to take that, and if you got those leads and they got their massive success, what would that enable them to do?
Well, that would bring in leads for different parts of my business. So either for a training course that I have on fundraising, or for those with a budget on consulting to actually get them there a lot faster.
Right, brilliant. And you'll find that there's lots of, that's lead generation is a very common goal. It's like we either want more leads, and once we've got more leads, potentially you might want to get ultimately more clients, and ultimately be able to have a consistent stream of clients for your business, so you can get to what you want without having to spend so much time in the business. So lead generation, fantastic. So within that, do you know what you're going to call your events? Do you have an idea of what you're going to call them?
Yeah.
Good. Workshops. Okay. What are they called?
So I run two different ones. One is on sort of the marketing side of things, which I call Stand Out to Win, which I've actually
Love it.
got myself trademarked, so I can use that for marketing.
Yes.
And that's the secret to winning investors and customers.
And stand out to win. There we go. The secrets to winning investors and customers.
Mm-hmm.
And this and customers. Okay. So that's the one event. Is you got? If you have more than one, how frequently do you do that?
So I do that one on the first Monday of every month, and then I run a second one on the third Monday of each month called Beat the Odds.
Mm-hmm.
And then the full title of that is Navigate Your Company's Fastest Way to Investment.
Okay. Good stuff. Yeah. And you're doing these, so it sounds like you're doing them kind of once a week. If you're alternating them.
Once every other week. So they both run once a month. So twice a week.
Lovely. All right. So you've got a fortnightly cadence.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. So you want to get more leads and consulting clients and for science and technology businesses.
Yeah, basically, I'm working with any business who's bringing something that's genuinely new to the world, to the market.
Okay. Right. Okay. So when we're planning, this all starts with the planning of your event, because what you call it is going to attract or repel a very certain type of business. So if you think about your ideal client, and this is kind of going into the deeper into the frameworks here, but let's just do this here. So if we go a lot deeper into this, essentially think about your clients, your target, your ideal clients, where they are on their journey. So they're all over here, and you can work kind of deeper into their psyche of the positive character, who are the people that you want to help and where do they want to get to.
Yeah.
Okay. and who these people are. So this is part of some of the strategy stuff that we'll do. Dave, I've actually developed this since we've started working with you. So you can actually go back, we can take you back through this and do this in a lot more detail. But essentially, if you think about your people, like the actual humans, where they are and where they want to get to, they're going to encounter challenges, problems. And there's sort of three categories of problems that we're going to encounter. One is the problems that they encounter before they start working with you. Okay. The second category is the problems that they'll encounter while working with you. Points of friction. Like for me, like getting access to your YouTube channel was like, people struggle giving me that access. It's like one of the challenge while working with us. It's like just part of the onboarding process. The first event is also like challenging. But then there's another category of problems, which is problems that they'll have after they're working with you. Like, how do I spend all the money? And like, how do I hire new people? Right. Okay. Now, when you're thinking about your webinar title, is these problems that people have working before working with you are great categories for webinar titles. Okay. So, all right. So you're in a webinar called How to Promote Your Webinar, which is quite strategically chosen because guess the kind of people that it attracts is people that want to promote a webinar, which means it's people that are already decided that they want to do one. They've decided that they want to fit into it, that they want to put it into their funnel somewhere. I don't have to convince them that they should do webinars. Understand why it's so strategic. So choosing your webinar title is one of the diagnostics that you use to help these very specific people go, So I don't know the detail about your business yet, but I'd encourage you to think about what are the people banging their heads against that are trying to raise funds.
It's the process of getting engagement from investors.
Exactly. How do I get engagement from investors? How do I, I don't know what that detail is, but those are the kind of things they're probably grumping at you right now. All right. So that's where that comes in. So if you can focus your marketing on those problems that these people have before working with you, this is a great way to have the right kind of people show up in the first place. So it's not like how to solve the problem. It's how to solve, because for me, the fundamental problem I think people need to solve is get their offer straightened out. Okay. But saying people need to sort out their offer doesn't make any sense until there's a whole bunch of pre-explanation and I explain what an offer is and how it all, like nobody cares. Like when I used to sell Google ads, like the fundamental problem is people don't have the tracking in place to accurately calculate total lifetime customer value, right? But nobody cares about that stuff. Clients are, the clients I was working with were going, my website's not making any money. So that's where I needed to focus the communication, right? And you only really get that from the best way to get that is to listen to your clients. Okay, so those are your current events, and those are the kind of things I would consider for your event title. Okay.
Sure.
Yo. Okay. Was that someone asking a question, or you were just going yes?
I think sure. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. So that's what to call your event. The other thing to consider is, in terms of planning, is what to offer at your event. Okay, because you're going to meet them on the journey. On their little their journey here. Where's my little man? I will summon a little man. Ta-da! Okay.
Glad to find another Miro user.
Yes, love Miro.
Are you another one?
Fantastic. All right. So here's your little man. Here's your ideal client, and they're over there, kind of banging their head against this problem, going, damn it, I can't figure this out. All right. And in your presentation, you're going to take them through that problem, but then your offer is kind of the logical next step. All right. So you better believe, at some point I'm going to give you guys an offer, which I hope is going to be the next step of, you want to do webinars? Like, okay, what is the next step? So when they solve this problem, what is the next step? What are you going to offer? Often it's a strategy call, to say, oh, if you like, it's normally some version of, hey, if you'd like this and you'd like some more, click here to get some. But it's worthwhile when you're planning your event, thinking about what that next step is going to be, because that's going to inform your follow-up process. It's going to inform, like, is it going to, if you're going to offer somebody to buy something, you want to have, your checkout pages and all that sort of things handled. If it is going to be a strategy call or something like that, make sure those things are super easy for people to find, and just start thinking about that and designing your kind of narrative arc around that. Okay, what is the thing you're offering?
So this is the end offer rather than the content.
Yeah, like, thank you for your time today. If you'd like to find out more, then.
Yeah, so I use a 15-minute, what I call an initial chat. It's a link to my booking system. Okay,
fantastic. Love it.
But I also do a follow-up with the event materials and some extra resources, some of which are practical, they can use for free, and some of which are slightly sales orientated, which I send them into a special LinkedIn folder called Smart Link.
Fantastic.
And that allows me to see, if anyone isn't familiar with those, it allows me to see who is then accessing that Smart Link and the post-event resources, which is how I identify those after the event that are interested in perhaps need a nudge to book their strategy call.
Yeah, cool. You got that, because that's actually a really great tip that Pete's sharing with you. So Smart Links are a feature of the sales version of LinkedIn Sales Navigator, where you can actually, basically take it. It's kind of like Bitly, but it's LinkedIn. That you can associate resources to a link and then embed that link in your material. And then as soon as somebody clicks on that link, it reports back to LinkedIn who actually engaged with that. Is that a fair summary, Pete?
Yeah, basically it's a repository of all documents you want, where there can be web links, there can be files, and it shows you who's viewing them, which ones they viewed, for how long. But it is the more expensive version of Sales Navigator, unfortunately.
Yeah, fair enough. What I find is once this stuff starts working, like, it's about like $120 a month or something like that, as opposed to $100 a month for, the sales version. Like, once the stuff starts working, those costs disappear very quickly. Once, you start getting some traction. All right. Now, so there's you consider what your next steps are, right? The next thing to consider is your champion network. And now we start to get into the promotional side. To say, champion network is, who are the people in your team / environment / alliance that you could lean on that would potentially help you with this stuff. Okay, so here we can consider things in your champion network, people like happy clients, people like, friends and family, referral partners, suppliers, industry organizations. Nikki was on here earlier and she mentioned the FSB. Oh, Nikki, you're still here. You mentioned the FSB, the Federation of Small Business, your Chamber of Commerce. In Scotland, we have Enterprise Scotland. You'd have, these organizations that you can lean on that could potentially, would share your post, that would potentially invite people, that you could co-brand with them. So these are all people that you could, consider in terms of your event weaving into your promotional process. Okay. Another really powerful, did I mention is referral partners? I'm going to circle back to that, especially as relates to LinkedIn events, because people that are incentivized to refer people to your business and refer people to your, because who's got like referral partnership agreements with people that are like, hey, if you refer stuff to me, then I'll give you some money. Some version of something like that. So Pete's got one. Fahim, you have people like that would, nope.
I am working on them. Okay,
cool. I'm going to ask you a question. Well, why not? If you don't have one, why not?
You ask me specifically?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I totally believe in referral partners, but I just haven't had the, it wasn't a priority all of last year. I've been trying to build up the audience myself. And now for 2023, I want to, I'm working on a plan to build a referral network.
Fantastic. All right, that's brilliant. I was hoping you were going to say it's hard, like to actually get people to refer your stuff. It's like, oh yeah, cool, I'll do that. But to actually get the mechanism going. But I'll circle back to that. It's great that you're thinking about doing that, because I'll show you how you build that into your plan. So in terms of your your promotional plan, having those things mapped out ahead of time, super valuable. Because especially if you have a series of events, it's then easy to start tagging people in and say, hey, I've got this series of events coming up. Here are the list of events, that you can promote to your network, your partners, people like that. And I agree. I mean, that's something, this is a big area of focus for me, especially going into 2022 and getting 2023 is getting scale through these systems, where we've done a lot of work getting like this, getting the offer to work. But I'll show you how, you can really accelerate your growth using referral partners and LinkedIn. Right. And then the last thing to consider is the kind of event that you're doing, because, I say webinar, but a webinar is a very specific type of event. I would consider this more like a workshop. People go webinar and they think like 100 people or 1,000 people in an anonymous room and some talking head going through slides going, buy my stuff. But so that's like high volume, low personalization. You could do any, workshop, you could do an event, you could do a networking event, you could do a summit, you could do a roundtable, you could do speed networking, you could do a bunch of different things on your for your event. So Pete, what kind of event, if you had to put these in a category, your events, what kind of events are they?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting one actually, because I started them and I've always run them as workshops. So they do have interactivity. They're designed to be for a small number of the right type of people, science and technology companies. And there's an amount of interactivity, but that is decreasing over time. I don't know whether that's a purposeful thing that I've done because of the sort of the delivery channels. Like, for example, if you try and do LinkedIn Live, there's like a 30-second delay, and it makes doing a practical workshop very, very difficult.
Yeah. Fantastic. So there's lots of different kinds of events. So in that case, you want to think about, based on where you're at, your goals, your audience, where they are, what kind of event we want to do. My personal favorite type is this type of group Zoom call environment, where everybody uses Zoom. Like, it's pretty, pretty easy, pretty frictionless, and it can be quite interactive. I personally like to have small groups of people more frequently, because then I can go deeper into each group. And, once every 2 weeks, I get to try something new. I'm like quite experimental. I like things not very, well prepared, but not completely over scripted. I'll kind of innovate depending on who's in the room. I've got a lot of content prepared, but I tend to like, it juices me doing stuff live. Right.
What you're doing today is definitely a workshop. I think mine fall kind of in between a webinar and workshop, being honest.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a whole slide deck prepared, but 20 minutes ago I was like, nah, let's pivot. And so I'm like the guinea pig for my thing, for my I'll try stuff first, but you're going to think about how you want to do this. But that's my preference, but it's not going to be everybody's preference. Like Myrna, who was on the call, she prefers to do like she was like let's going to do this huge big event, and she was very prescriptive about how we're going to do it. We're going to do it a Q&A style. And I was like, okay, cool, you do you. And it worked really, really well. So I don't think that there's any one way of like, here is, the ultimate perfect formula. I have a belief that people are going to buy you before they buy your service. So, think about what's going to reflect you and how you can best be of service to your audience. But there's a couple of different ways of doing it. And you would kind of pivot and promote it differently depending on how you're going to do this. Summits obviously give you access to a lot more, a bigger champion network, because you've potentially got everybody else who's speaking. If you do a joint workshop, you've got two people's networks that you can leverage. Okay, so those are the kind of events, and you'll choose your kind of events. So I would say yours is kind of, let's call yours a workshop. We're doing a workshop. I would say yours is a workshop.
Yep. Okay.
All right. For the sake of a simple life, we know what's going. So now we want to prepare and go right. In preparation for event, there's a couple of foundational things to be doing here. One is, your LinkedIn profile. If people invited to your event, go and look at your LinkedIn profile. Does it say something sensible to those people? Does it match up with their expectations? Because it's one of the things that they consider before they RSVP. In terms of your company page, so we can do a whole session on, nothing but your LinkedIn profile, but that's the diagnostic test. Those people you want to invite, if they click and look at your profile, are they going to look at your profile and go, huh? Or they're going to look at it and go, yeah, this is my guy. he can do that. Click and RSVP. Okay, so that's the diagnostic. Your company page as well, because your company page is where we're going to host the event. Does it have some interactivity? If they look at this this company page, are they going to look at it and go, huh? Or they're going to look at this thing and go, yeah, this company's legit. That's kind of the diagnostic. Who are you? What are you for? Who do you do? Who do you do it for? And especially on the company page, talk about the event. Okay. So we got a couple of posts about that leading up to that. Great stuff. Then the other thing we want to look at is your connection base. And this kind of, Fahim, you're kind of leading into, how do you laser target people, specific types of people in your event? You can make your life a lot simpler by cleaning up your profile ahead of time. Okay. You're having a bit of a chuckle there.
Yeah, you're right. I've got a lot of people that are not, the target market for these kinds of events. So you're right. Yeah. I'll have to purge my profile a little.
And just looking at, being clear about, because we've all done this, right? If you're an entrepreneur, you probably have been around the block a few times, worn a few different hats in your life, had a few different kinds of jobs and industries and things, and as such have collected a ragtag collection of connections. So yeah, just being clear about who those things are, who those people are that you wanted to connect to, and are those people in your network? Because it affects things like your engagement rate on your posts, all sorts of stuff. Like at the moment, my target market is, experts. So coaches, consultants, trainers, specifically people that can sell in a Zoom room. You can sell in a Zoom room, like I can put you in a Zoom room with your customers. Like that's the jam. It's that simple. But that's not what my network is. It's like all kinds of weird marketing people and all sorts of stuff. Now you can invite each person. We'll get to the promotion side. You can invite 1,000 people per week to your event, but it's 1,000 of your first level connections. So if your connections are, you build your network so that it kind of matches your the people that you want to connect to, it's going to make that process a lot easier. Also, if I'm posting content, like if I do organic post about, hey, this is how speakers can make more money with their ideas, and my entire network is speakers, I'm going to get a much better engagement rate on that post than if my network is speakers, butchers, bakers, marketers, kung fu teachers, and all kinds of other ragtag people that I've been in contact with over the years. So, okay, so a quality connection base. Boom.
I just ask, are you therefore promoting the kind of using the when you set your LinkedIn event up on your company page, then using that invite your connections function?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%. Yeah, 100%. We've tried all the stuff. I've got a whole slides of 5 slides of 20 ideas of promoting your network of your event, but most of the heavy lifting comes down to pressing that invite button.
But that's more effective, for example, than sending personalized DMs to them.
Yeah. When we ran the stats, you can do it if you do and when you say personalized DMs, do you mean actually doing them one by one at a time, or using some kind of robot to do them?
Using some kind of robot to do them, but personalized.
Yeah. what I found is that, both of them kind of work for a given. I mean, the stats, here are the stats. We've probably sent out 100,000 invites so far using the event invitation mechanism. And we've had, in the entire history of us doing that, 2 people that have come back and gone, you know what? Please stop inviting me to these events. One was like, thank you for inviting me to the events, but I'm no longer in that role. Please stop inviting me as it's no longer relevant.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's another one. Was another client of ours that had someone that said, please stop doing that. Okay, so out of luck.
Yeah, just so I know that, for example, in your LinkedIn notifications, if you decline invitations to newsletters, which people are creating, a dozen, after a while, the LinkedIn actually asks you, do you want to stop receiving notifications about email newsletters? I don't turn them off because I'm not one of those people. But if that did exist for event invitations, then you might be inadvertently, you might not be able to reach your market via that invitations button anymore. I just wondered whether you had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think it's great. People don't want to be invited to events, then get the hell off your list. It's the same as your unsubscribe button or a do not call list. Like, those people were not going to come to your events. They're probably not going to buy your stuff. So, yeah. So what we did, so that event invitation is exactly for people that like it. And when they do, we've tried the whole personalization thing with robots and with humans. And what we found is that the pushback is quite high, but the RSVP rate wasn't much higher. You kind of the spam complaints, the kind of spam complaints when you use the DM messages came back a lot higher, and the RSVP rates weren't necessarily higher. Whereas when you use the event invitation mechanism, complaints are much lower and the love is much higher. So many messages from people going, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so sorry I can't make it this time. Please keep inviting me. I'll try and make the next one. David, have you seen that? You've started to see that. Yeah, where people are like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, 100%. And I've just noticed Graham's question about, just invite people without necessarily an offline. And I must admit, I was nervous about that to start with, but that was before I understand a little more about the system and the nature of the invite coming through. And it was I was concerned it was going to be like the kind of spammed messages and the kind of things that turned me off. Someone, hey, let's connect, and then you connect, and then you get 15, huge emails with all the kind of sales pitch. Whereas this is simply, hi, I'm running an event. Here's the invite to it. So it's like the RSVP card coming through the door rather than a big kind of bang on the door, trying to convert someone. And so it's really kind of light touch in terms of the connection that it gives to someone. And I think it's quite, for me, I find it quite a respectful way to do it. So I'm quite comfortable with it.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of counterintuitive, but in terms of the testing, that's what we found, is it just seems to land differently for people. So great stuff. Okay, so you got quality connection base, and ideally, the magic number is if you've got 2,000 people in your first level connections, then you're ready to do an event. Okay. Because that, 2,000 people means you can invite 1,000 people a week every 2 weeks. And now you've got the basis of a webinar funnel, right? That's enough to get going. For most of us consultant, expert business types, we're not looking for hundreds of clients. Like 1 or 2 good conversations a week, that'll do it. And Graham, your question about having the personal connection, I found, if you try and have a personal connection and then invite people to the event, by all means do that with people that you want to have personal invitations with anyway. But I found is that if you invite people to event and then have personal conversations with the people that have said yes, you get a much better ratio, much better yield for your effort. Yeah.
John, can I ask how many people are invited to this event today?
I can show you the stats if you want.
Just off the top of your head, how many, roughly?
1,600. 1,600, yeah.
1,600, and you got what, 6?
34 people RSVP'd, 6 people showed up.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't matter RSVP, and it's how many people turn up to the event. 6. Don't you think that you could have actually had a better result if you'd actually made? I mean, there's 2 marketing people I follow. One is my coach, obviously, and they basically say that without a connection with, well, it depends what it is. I mean, to be fair, your product, your services actually are not so personal, but for coaching and stuff like that, you kind of have to have a bit of a connection with people, in my limited view.
I mean, I think you've got a perception and it also depends like how you define results. Because, when you're doing these events, people tend to obsess about how many people show up. Right. Whereas that's actually not the game at all.
But you've qualified your lead by them attending. You don't know who you're getting through the door. They may be okay. No, okay. Sorry, I'm distracting from this, and it's helpful to Pete. So
not
carry on.
Yeah, not at all. But I think it's a great question, and I just want to address that because it's almost like a cognitive bias to go like, how many people showed up at the event? It's like how many, whereas actually you don't. What you're should be optimizing for is how many clients are you getting per month. Okay, and how many conversations are you getting? And out of the people that RSVP'd and the people that showed up, like I've already got calls booked with people that aren't here. And that's the bit that we don't see. Is that there's people that have RSVP'd that I've picked up with, that I've had chats with since then, that have gone, oh yeah, it's good to see you again, or oh, I won't be able to make it. The fact that you're having it every 2 weeks actually makes it, you start to build a community on the front end of your events. So it's not just about the event. It's about the entire ecosystem around it. So the event gives you an opportunity and a reason to reach out and say, hey, I haven't spoken to you in a while. Like there's a couple of people on the list that I'm like, hey, I haven't spoken to you in ages. It now gives me a reason to go, hey, so last time we were speaking, you were doing this, you were doing that. Where are you now? Is it appropriate for us to have a conversation? So it's not so much about how many people show up, because we've optimized for attendance rate, and I think you can get up to the highest I've ever seen is 40%. 25% is about the middle of the road. And you can do, I mean, we did some of my client events, we had one last week, and she's using some of these things. Now, let's talk a bit about the promotion. All right. How we actually go, how we go and handle the promotion. So now we've got all of that context. Let me go through, I'll switch over to the slides. But in terms of, you got all of that context, how do you actually go and promote the event? Now, the most powerful use of that, I'll give you the good stuff first, and then we can talk about some of the other things that you can do. Let's just go over here. Show all the events. So now you've got all the, and I'm going to kind of skip over the build process of this because I'm just kind of running out of time here. But if you've got this in your company page, and this is happening on the 8th of December, and as you can see, this is already built and already inviting people to that. But you build it in such a way that when you invite people, like the event, can you guys see this okay?
Yeah.
All right. So this is what I mean by the event invitation process. Like you can just click on invite. And as long as your connection base is clean, inviting people is as simple as going, who are my people? So professional training and coaching. And what I also like to do is choose, so at the moment I'm targeting United States quite as a vertical. The reason for that I found is that as a general rule, my experience is that American coaches make decisions much faster. Americans, as a general rule, make decisions much faster. I mean, I had a guy on Friday, 20 minutes into the call, he said, "This is great, take my money." Send him a Stripe link, he paid immediately. It's very difficult. I don't know what it is about the UK, but it just, people tend to take a lot longer to make decisions. So that's just been my experience. The second thing is that if you work in the US, then you don't charge, you don't have to factor VAT into your pricing. So very strategic move on my part in terms of thing. And that's kind of understanding your target market. That's something I absolutely obsess about. But this is essentially, so you can go and choose, you can choose by country, you can choose by industry. To a certain extent, you can also search by, things that are on people's names. But generally, if you do industry and country and you choose any of these drop downs, you can choose people one at a time, but if you choose any of those drop downs, what it gives you the ability to do is hit this select all button. Okay. Pete suddenly went, okay. And, that little thing, like that little button. I mean, I had the same experience where I went to a LinkedIn course with a guy called Dennis Chechik is his name. And I was like, how's this guy getting like 1,000 people RSVPing to his event? And he was like, and I went to his webinar and he didn't show me, and you had to buy the course, and he went to a full day training, and I sat through an entire day's training of his training. And he was like, how do you invite the people? And he was like, then you select the drop down and then you get this thing. And I was like, oh, that's genius. All right. And it really is that suddenly means you can invite, inviting, because you can invite 1,000 people a week. But depending on your temperament, like collecting those people one at a time is like, why? I don't want to do it. But if you can just go select a category, scroll down and do this, and it's a little bit of LinkedIn kind of has these manual processes built in to kind of fight your automation. There are automated ways of doing this. But I mean, how long has this taken? 4 or 5 minutes. It takes, because we have people that do this now. It takes 8 minutes to invite 1,000 people. Okay. I mean, that's why I have a business. It's like, just because it's easy, people don't do it. I'm like, we'll just do this for you. I have someone that I sit and pay, and they sit and scroll down this thing, and they make sure you get 1,000 people invited.
John, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You mentioned you have people doing this. Do they have to have access to your personal profile to send out the invites?
Yeah, if you want them to do it for you, then yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But is that okay in terms of service, LinkedIn's terms of service?
They're not wild about it. But it's in terms of good, better, best, right? LinkedIn are much happier that you give someone else in your organization or a supplier access to your login details than that you connect some kind of automated tool to your system.
But you haven't had any problems of accounts being restricted or anything? Okay, cool. That's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, none. Yeah, especially with this mechanism, because they've designed it. You're kind of working within the bubble. Of what we have seen is that the first time somebody did this and then started sending, they sent like 100 from doing nothing on their profile, sent 100 messages to people in their events on one day, and LinkedIn was like, "Oh, you're going a bit fast. This seems unusual." So that was the only time. But once you start getting into a rhythm with it, like the algorithm is designed to detect big changes in your behavior. But not, I mean, I've done the whole automated tool thing as well. And when we were doing that, we used to get that, run into that a lot more often.
Okay.
Doing it like this, nope. What you do get is occasionally.
No, but if you send out messages to event attendees, those who've already raised their hands, like if you send out like 100 invites saying or reminding them, is that also not kosher?
No, that's fine. Totally do that. It's just if you've never sent anyone messages ever and suddenly you send 100 in a day, that one time you might get a thing. But also, I said, don't suggest you do 100 in a day, because what you do is you send these invitations. So you'll see, this is an invitation we're already promoting for my next event. So there's 26 over here. What I suggest you do, and this is to your point, Graham, is that these people have already RSVP'd. So here's a good chance, a good opportunity now to look at the people that have RSVP'd to my event in December and start going, hey, like this is a guy I want to go and speak to. He looks cool. This guy I've already spoken to. We've already got a call booked, right? Luther Diedrichs, he's been to a couple of calls as well. So these are all people that are already warm contacts that it's just, I wouldn't have thought to check up on them. But these are people that I can now reach out to and go, hey, I see you coming to your event. I see you like this on this page. I like what you did about that blog post. I see we're both connected to so-and-so. And I can then invest energy in doing quite a long personalized message because I know this is someone that's already raised their hand. So Fahim, you'd know, Myrna's conversational framework. Have you done any of Myrna's training, the LinkedIn outreach training?
Oh, I haven't done the conversational one.
Okay. But I think it's called like DM. It's called different things in different courses, but like DM Revolution or something like that, or Direct Message Accelerator. Like it's probably the most comprehensive. I mean, Myrna is Fahim and I's mutual acquaintance. She built a 7-figure business literally teaching people how to speak to humans on LinkedIn Direct Messenger. Right? Like that's,
it's not email.
Yeah. But there's a way to do it, but it does require you to lean in and actually pay attention. And my experience is that by itself on a cold audience didn't scale. But when I combined it with the events and said, hey, I'm going to do an event on something that's probably the kind of problem you're looking to solve if you're my people. And those people that RSVP, you can then start to reach out to, and you already know that there's a little bit of intent there to reach out and go, hey, what are you doing? What, where are you now? Where do you want to be? What are your goals, et cetera, et cetera. That makes sense. Okay, so that's, the big kind of juicy bit is that invitation process. There's lots of ways to promote your event, but I really enjoy doing that. Now, secondly, to stack on top of that, if you've got other people, organizations, other people in your team, they can also invite 1,000 people in a week. If you've got your referral partners and your champion network, which is why we identified those people, you can go and enlist those people as well to go and invite people to your event. If you've got those referral partners that you want to say, we have a process where if anyone wants to invite people to our event, we'll give them 10% of any signups that are at an event. So we're working on it at a point where it's you literally just give us your LinkedIn profile login details and we'll send you a check. Just to remove the friction. But if you want to go and invite people to your event, like people go, hey, that John guy's great, we want to support him. We give you the mechanism to say, literally, here's the event. You just go invite people. And when they RSVP and when they buy something, we can just go and check and say, who's this person connected to? Not connected to me, they're connected to Fahim. Excellent, let's send Fahim some money. And we then add them to our affiliate program. So that's how we do this.
But you don't have a link. You don't have an affiliate link to.
You don't need things. You don't need it
because you just do it on the spreadsheet.
Exactly. So for each, so as part of the technical setup of what we do is, we connect that LinkedIn event to Zapier, and from there we push a whole bunch of stuff, push it into a whole bunch of different things. Stats. So we build, so we have a tracking sheet. We can also then tag them. We push them into a CRM. We tag each person with the event, are then able to keep track of that in real time. What we found is that it's quite tricky to track for each individual person. Like, if Fahim invites 1,000 people to my event and 100 people show up, to tag those 100 people to Fahim, quite tricky. But you only have to figure out the people that buy something. So when somebody buys something, you just go, okay, well, this one person is actually pretty easy. And we just shift that individual person across to your account, because we can see, okay, you know, not my network, you're in Fahim's network, and just switch it across. Make sense? Okay, so that's how you kind of leverage your partner network. Now, of course, what you can do is use, you know, once you've got your, got 3 minutes left. So that's kind of the main thing I wanted to get to. There's a whole bunch of other promotional things that you can use, but that is really honestly what we found is the most powerful. Oh, yeah. But the most power in terms of promoting is leveraging existing connections. Anything else you can do above and beyond that is going to add juice to that. But that promotion process, using that LinkedIn event mechanism, we found works best. But there is a bit of setup to do in terms of creating the event page, or reminder sequences that are connected to that, the tracking sheets, the calendar event invitations, and connecting that all up with Zapier. Slightly outside of today's content. But if you want to find out more, we're doing an event. We're doing a one-day event on, and I'll send that to you via email. So that's my offer today. I think it's going to be $97 for a full day to 4 hours that we're going to go through the process in a lot more detail and actually go through those steps. That Zapier process is a little bit of a hassle. Like, it's taken us ages to figure it out, but if you come to the course, we'll just copy paste that Zap for you, that you can just go and take it off the shelf and customize it. And of course, if you want us to do the whole process for you, current price is $950 a month, and we just take care of all this for you. You also get the full software stack, a whole team that will support all of the stuff for you, do all the graphic design, do all the invitations, do all the follow-up messages, and you just need to show up and present. So, and if you have any questions about that, you can ask Dave. That's what we do for Dave. All right. So yeah, with 1 minute to go, any closing final questions?
It'd be interesting to touch on those examples and testimonials, and how much sort of detail you're getting from previous clients and how you use that in promotion.
Am I still sharing my screen?
No.
Yeah. I mean, if I'd spent a little bit more time preparing this, what I would have shown you is, so as we, so probably the two success cases, I mean, because as we're getting this, the success cases are going more and more, which is quite nice. So the two outliers so far, last week we had Caitlin Doomner, who from Ecstatic Sales. She has a sales team. So her stats were 6,800 people invited, 168 people RSVP'd, 40 people RSVP'd, and 5 people put down a $5,000 deposit on a $3,000 course. So that's $15,000 in sales from a single event. The stats, I mean, Fahim, that webinar that you were on with me and Myrna, we did so just over 6,000 invitations, 203 people RSVP'd, 45 people showed up, and so far I've closed $1,900 in monthly recurring revenue with that event. So if you map, take that out to 12 months, and I'm still going through sales calls off the back of that event. So that's an example of doing, like I can say, oh, my stuff's great, but we partnered with Myrna, and that's also a great opportunity. If you partner with somebody else, you can partner with them, tell your audience how awesome they are. They can tell your audience how awesome you are. And the combination of that then is super powerful. Cool. So slightly different presentation today, slightly different experience. If you guys do want the slides, any final questions as I just get the slides up that I didn't use? I'm happy to share those with you though, if you want. Any closing questions?